Good morning. Good morning and good morning. Hey, y'all. I'm feeling better. My voice is coming back. Yay. I am excited about that. I've been, having that frogginess, that hoarseness for, oh my gosh, almost like 2.5 weeks. And I'm excited that I woke up this morning and I'm getting more and more clear. But I've been doing a few things for myself. One of them is, drinking a lot more liquids, especially water and tea with lemon, some honey. So I've been doing that. Also, and I've been doing the infused tea where you do it yourself, and that's kind of fun with the little basket. So I've been doing that. Also, resting more. I think the snow helped me because that meant I was forced to stay inside and not just go outside. So I did that. And then also, I've been putting on a humidifier at night with the air, circulating around and helping me have some mist in it, and that's helped. So I'm 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 getting there. I'm almost 100%, and I certainly am excited, about where I'm at from where I was. But good morning. Good morning. Today we're going to talk about another cool word. I'm having fun with words. Good morning, Calithia. How are you? Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Good morning. Good morning. And thank you for the sunflower. I had my thing about sunflowers. In fact, I bought some and I'm getting ready to take them back to the store. I bought some the day before yesterday at Publix, and they generally have a great selection of you can buy three for $12 or they're $4 each. And each time you get four in each package. So that's 12 flowers. And so I took some to somebody, but I didn't take them sunflowers. But the ones I bought for myself, they're horrible. I said, no, these aren't right. So I called them and told them I was bringing them back. They said, okay. So I'm going to take those back after I finish up this morning. But, if you're not getting what you're supposed to get and you're paying for it, you need to take it back. And I know a lot of times, people that are selling you stuff, they don't care if you bring it back or not. They don't even care if it doesn't work. But they're most interested in keeping your money. That's what they're most interested in. So anyway, I am, as I said, I'm doing good, but good to see you in the space this morning, Calithia. We're going to let a few more people come in. How have you been? What have you been up to? Anything interesting? You can just put it there in the thread. I'm always trying to come up with something that makes things kind of fun. So we got a fun thing for today as well. But I'm, as they say, I'm living my best life, trying to live well, and certainly trying to do better about taking care of myself. And I'm hoping you're doing the same as everyone else. Um, Having such strange weather this week. I think yesterday I was out and it was 67. I'm like 67, and last week it was something like, I think the wind chill was 16. Come on now. We can't survive like that. We're used to our bodies have gotten used to a certain amount of what I would call temperatures, and we don't really like all that other stuff. So for myself, I know for sure I'm not interested in that cold weather ever again. But anyway, we're going to get started. And today our word is timbrous. Timbrous. And tenebrous is basically, it means obscure and murky. And, a lot of times I think we go through periods in our lives where we're kind of uncertain about what's really happening. It could be with where it affects our money. It could be that it affects our comfort level. It maybe affects, how we're living, where we're working. It's just a period of where there's just uncertainty. It's not clear. There's some obscurity to it. We don't know how to get through it and sometimes even over it, but we know how it affects us. And when it affects us, we might, become, depressed or frustrated or angry or confused or concerned, or maybe it's a positive effect and we're happy about it. But generally speaking, when something is going to go through this, this period of tenebrous, that we're really not understanding all the things that we expect to be clear to us. So here's some key facts about where the word came from and how it all came about. In history, they say it's been around since the 15th century, that this word. And, it says that as I said, it can mean obscure and murky, but its history is not crystal clear. It says, um, people who study words, they might be the ones that just decide that they're going to look up what I keep getting, flashes on my computer here, what they call, the etymologists. They looking at words that come from Latin backgrounds or French backgrounds or Greek or whatever. And so that's how we end up with our words in English that are derivatives of words from other countries. It might be named after the other persons that we did the other day, like the Nimians. Okay. So, when I look back through all the ones that we've done a lot of them, and all of them are always different. But it talks about this word being developed in the 15th century, and its subsequent centuries has been joined by some interesting and even less common relations. So it says the Tenebroids is the name that may be given by any of at least 20,000 species of mostly nocturnal beetles. Who figures? Nocturnal beetles, also called darkling beetles, many of whom love inhabiting dark places. I always used to like to go sit in my closet when I was little, and the closet was dark, but all I wanted was a flashlight to read by. But no, I don't like dark places now. So if you come to my house at night, it's all well lit up outside, only because I've grown up to believe that a lot of times people are lurking or things are lurking in the dark that you can't see. So you need to have clarity where you can see what you're looking at and where you're going. But it says also the Tembrisians refers to the style of painting was associated essentially with the Italian painter Caravaggio. And it says in which most of the figures are engulfed in shadow while some are dramatically illuminated by concentrated light. So that meant there was a shadow to them. So you might see some of what looks, where it's not so abstract, and the rest of it kind of has a shadow to it, so you don't know the full outline of certain things. And it says let's not forget the terrific tenebrethic, which is a tenebro synonym. And it says that usually comes about as certain examples. And it says these are examples of which, it says like the night with no moon shining in the midst of those tenebrous days. That would be like somebody writing online to just say, yeah, the days come, but it's so dark, we don't know the dark from the light. We can't tell. We can't distinguish. It says these are the times that try men's souls, is actually a quote by Thomas Paine, which you think about it, when you're trying to sometimes describe things that's happened to you, and you can't really describe it, it kind of gets inside you and rocks you a little bit, because you say, well, wow, I don't even know, I can't even describe that. That was over the top, or that was too much, or I can't quite tell you what I'm looking at, but I see something. Don't quite know what it is, but I do see something. And it says, recent examples on the web that they've written about this word. And when we look at the word, we can just decide if we understand it or not. But tenebrous is a word that should be common in probably the older years of when people were talking, because to me it has much more formalness to it than what we say now. We'll just say, hey, it's dark out there. But once again, we can take that word and break it down and add some more context to it and meaning for ourselves. And it said, in terms of the etymology of it, it says the Middle English tenebros, tenebrous, borrowed from the Anglo-French. So once again, there's that French accent or input, and the tenebrousses borrowed from the Latin. So, you have French, and then you have English, Middle English, and then you have Latin. So sometimes we don't even realize that somebody is going to deal with the words, or they've dealt with the words before we get them. Good morning, Miss Rosie. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday to you. This is a hump day. Happy hump day to everybody. So when we further look at this word, it says that we can look at the fact that it was first I told you about when it first came about, but then it talks about shutting off the lights would be a way of, instead of us saying shutting off the lights, we can just say the tenebrous means shut off the light. Tenebrous, tenebrous, shut the light off. But we don't say tenebrous. We're going to say shut off the lights, or shut the lights off. And it says the synonym of dark or murky is what tenebrous is all about. They have a meaning, according to the Oxford Latin Dictionary, that's more or less complete absence of light, which is darkness. We don't even realize sometimes we can be seeing and not seeing. So do we have a certain tenebrous about us? Probably, because we're not all clear about everything that we need to see or need to know. So we're not clear about that. And it says the tenebrae had a life of its own as an English word referring to a very specific religious service. So the word has different meanings depending on when it came about and what portion of literature did it show up in, or the time period of its appearance. It says the church service is observed during the final part of the Holy Week in the commemoration of the sufferings and the death of Christ, with the public chanting of psalms and the progressive extinguishing of all candles until the only one remains, burning behind or under the altar. I never knew that. So that's my last bit of information about that word. And there's a whole bunch of stuff online that you can look up. But the word is spelled Tenebrous, tenebrous. So it's kind of like a cool little word. Shut off the light, dark and murky. Tenebrous depths, which means I don't know, but I'm down deep. I don't quite understand, but I need to have more information. I don't know how to do it, because we can look at this as being, where it's obscure, meaning we don't have enough, we don't have enough information about it, or it's just totally, it's misunderstood by us. We can't quite decipher its meaning, or we can't decipher what we're seeing, so it's an observational thing, but it's also a feeling. We feel sometimes that we can't give information about stuff because we don't have it. We just can't give it. So it says sometimes it says it causes tremendous affairs that may cause gloom and doom. It says because it's dark, it could be dusty or dusky, murky. It could be black. It could be very dim. It could be obscure or moodless, meaning you can't get anything from it because you don't feel where it's going. You don't know where it's at. It says it could be starless, gloomy. It could be lackluster. How many of us have had lackluster, sessions or period in our lives where it's just lackluster? Nothing major going on. We just feel that there's we're just trying to get along. And it says it could offer a period of secludedness or seclusion. And it says rayless, meaning no sparks whatsoever. Good morning, Cheryl. How are you? Hey, Cardi. How y'all doing this morning? Today our word is tenebrous, Tenebrous. Brous, tenebrous. And it's one of those words that just kind of lets you know that there's obscurity to it. You don't quite know what you're seeing, and sometimes you don't know enough to be able to express it because you can't get in on a conversation about it. When we break the word down, because now they have a couple other things. It also says it's sunless, and it may be just twilight. I was thinking that dawn should have been there, but they didn't really have dawn down there as one of the synonyms. Now they do have tenebrific, and then unlit, and then Stygian or Stygian. So those are the different areas that they're talking about. So when we go down our list here, the one I made, when I break it down, my T I put for twilight, because I believe that if you are going through a period, we may be, I think I talked the other day about when someone is given morphine, there may be a period of twilight where they don't really know what's going on, but they might be the period that they're going down before they get all the way down into basically sleep, deep sleep consciousness, or not being conscious. But twilight is the soft glowing light from the sky when the sun is below the horizon, caused by the refraction and scattering of the sun's rays from the atmosphere. So to me, that's when you talk about half light, timing. Oh, come on now. Timing. That's right. Because, you think about that. The time of day things happen. Time of night. What's going on? Have you ever awakened in the middle of the night and you thought it was day when you first got up until you looked outside? And I also remember when I lived in Italy, I remember there being days where it was longer lighted outside. And I think it happened to me when I was in, Alaska. I'm like, wow, that's just crazy, where it was light all the time. And so I'm mixed up. My body clock was mixed up just for that reason, because, I'm used to it being dark at night, not light at night. So timing is wonderful, Calithia. So when you have twilight or timing, you have half light, semi-darkness. It could be dimness or gloom. Once again, there's the gloom, which it could be the dark side of twilight. Now, they also have this word, enigmatic. Enigmatic is when it's direct or difficult to interpret, understand, or it's mysterious. And I think we probably all have gone through periods of time of that, where something's happening, but we don't know enough about it to give it any energy. So it's an enigma, So when something is enigmatic, it's like, well, how do you explain this? This is what I see this happening, but I can't really explain all the things that's going on. So it says it may have mystery to it when we're dealing with this whole thing of temperance. It's like, wow, it's hard to understand. It's baffling. It's confusing. It's unexplainable, and it's perplexing. When we think of life, of some of the things that we've been through, don't you know you've had periods of when you say, I don't know how that happened. I can't explain anything. I've seen it, but I can't acknowledge how it went down or what took place or who was involved. It's the same thing if you've seen an accident. Two people they witnessed the same accident and the stories are different. It's what we see. It's what becomes visible to us and what becomes understandable. But if we don't understand everything that we see, then it becomes, this thing where we say, well, there's mystery to it. It's an enigma. It's an enigmatic period for me. It's baffling. It's perplexing. It's unexplainable. I can't do it. Don't ask me to do that. When we move on in our word of looking at the whole concept under, temperous, we want to look at nebulous, and nebulous is in the form of a cloud or a haze, meaning we go through hazy periods. You know, I think anybody that went through, you know, COVID at home, they probably had a period, a day or two, where they said, man, you know, four walls and me, you know, or my children and me, or whoever was there with you, my spouse and I, or whatever you had in terms of your arrangement. You probably had a period of, you know, wow, it's kind of hazy here of all the things that I didn't do that I wanted to do. But after a while, our past becomes somewhat less, you know, describable as we get further and further away from it. But during that time, I'm quite sure there were many days that some of us went through a period of haziness. Nebulous kind of stuff happened to us. No big deal, kind of hazy, indistinct, unclear, vague, cloudy, fuzzy. Even when we go back to a lot of things in our lives, we're going to have that period of fuzziness. It says we also could have misty, be blurred, shadowy. And shadowy means that we got some of it, but we don't have all of it. We can't give it all because we don't know it all. It says formless, and there we are. Those are all the things that come under nebulous when we're going this period of nebulousness, and we will go through them. We will. And I think for myself, I know, when I've lost a family member, especially like my mother, somebody real significant, there's times of going through that I don't recall, and yet and still I got through it. And that's our lives. We're going to go through these periods where they may be dark and murky and tenebrous, but it is what it is. But yet and still we get through it. Then we go through the words, it says also formless, shadowy and formless. How many of us have gone through things where we see a shadow or something, but we didn't see the full illustration of what it is. How many of you sleep and you wake up trying to remember what maybe startled you or frightened you or, got your attention, that it woke you up, but you couldn't remember it. Okay. Those are when you have that period of, nebulousness. It's just kind of cloudy in your head. It's like, okay, and I remember taking a sleep and dreams class one time, and they said, if you want to remember your dreams, then when you feel yourself coming awake, don't move, because your brain is already going to redirect you to moving your limbs. But if you don't move, it says you're more apt to be able to remember that. Now, that was when it was back then. I don't know what it is now, because that was many moons ago. Here's the next word, equivocal. That's often to be more than one can interpret. It's basically ambiguous. You can't quite determine what it really is, and I certainly know that you've had those periods as well, where it's, basically unequivocal. You can't say, well, what is it? What happened? So you said, then it's a dark side. It's an enigma again. It's obscure. It's vague. And when we go through those things, we identify them as that I don't know. That's probably the simple way. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know anything. I don't know if anyone has gotten to the age where they've had a colonoscopy and you end up having to be put to sleep, but it's a quick sleep down and you're quickly back up. And I remember the last time I went a few years ago, the doctor says, I'm going to sing you a song, but I need you to count off from 100 for me. So I started at 100. I don't even remember anything past 99. After that, that was it. She was singing. I did hear her singing, but when I woke up, I don't know, probably 5 minutes later, she was gone. I was in I was in another location, and I wasn't counting. So that there's a period of just haziness. You don't know. So that would be your the tenebrous that you're going through. You don't understand it. There's shadow by it. Yeah, I saw her. I remember there, but then everything else changed. It changes. My B in tenebrous is for baffling. Let's face it, we can be baffled. And it says it's impossible to understand, and it says that makes it perplexing to us. It says we become bewildered, confused. We may be frustrated or foiled. Yeah, foiled. I like that word because it's so short. We may be thwarted, confusing, or befuddled. That's another word. I think I used that the other day, befuddled. But all of it says that basically we don't know. We're kind of questioning what it is that we seen, what we heard, um, and then what we understand from what we seen or heard or didn't see all of or didn't hear all of. That's like the person that hears um, part of a conversation and runs with it, even though the the best part of the conversation or the most important part of the conversation they missed, but the part they took away can become the most damaging. That's what it is. Baffling. It would be baffling to me that somebody would even do that, but they do. I used to always test that out as a teacher in a classroom. Try something, and some people they made up stuff because they didn't know the entire story. They didn't hear the entire thing. So when we continue on our word of tenebrous, we look at rayless. Rayless means it's dark or gloomy. And when we see dark or gloomy, we understand that means it may be too heavy to understand or too dark in terms of the shadow to see the outline of. All we see is an outline, or it may just have gloom attached to it. you know um I know I've never been a person that liked crime and mystery and all those things that pretty much set you up to say, wow, that's crazy. I can't do that. So I'm not a person that watches scary movies. But I know that there are a lot of people who do, and they absolutely love them. They just think that they're not me. If it's too mysterious, if it's too gloomy, too dark, not, I'm not even afraid of dreaming of it. I'm just afraid that it's just not my genre of something I want to read or see to repeat in terms of my head thinking about it later on. I'm just not that. So we move on in our word of tenebrous. We want to talk about it being obscure. And when something is obscure, that means we're keeping it from being seen. It's a concealed thing. And the concealing mean is because we didn't see it all. That means what we don't know is concealed. It says it may be something that's hidden, something that's shrouded, something that has been placed in an envelope. To me, I always used to wonder why certain people with no information about letters that were closed up. And I had a friend that was good at reading other people's mail, and she would open up and read the mail and then put it back in the envelope. And then she would do that steam approach where she would steam it off and then glue it back on as if it hadn't been opened. But to me, that's being intrusive and not really a good thing to do. But to be obscure, it says to keep from being seen. So therefore, if a letter has a seal on it, it's not for you. It's whoever name is on it. But we've certainly had that happen to people that I've known of. But it says that to have something that's obscure, it's also not to be seen. It's to be masked. There's a cloak around it, and it is to be hidden. It is to be hidden. When we move on in our word of tenebrous, we talk about it being unilluminated, unilluminated. And basically that says it's in the dark. There's not much to see, not much to know, that maybe is being concealed or is being hidden in some way, so for some reasons. And it says that makes it where there's lightlessness, there's no light. It says it's unlit and it's in the dark. And there's a reason that people would have that go on. It means it's private. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to you. I always asked people when I used to do different programs, and one of the things I would ask in my workshops is, if you stayed at someone's house and they gave you full range of the house, but asked you not, to, go in drawers and, cabinets and those kind of things, but they gave you your room, and the only thing that was in the room with you was certainly open drawers for you, clear drawers for you to use them, and space for you to hang your clothes, and the bathroom and all of that. And I always ask people, well, would you be obtrusive and go into other people's things? And like a couple of them said, you know what, temptation. And I said, you know what, I would be fearful of that. I would have a problem with it. I said, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, especially if something were to happen and there my fingerprints are on everything. So for me, it would be no. But I know some people probably would, because, curious is just that. It just calls on needing to be seen, needing to know. And I don't want that kind of obtrusion. So if you invite me, you don't have to worry. Okay. Now, if I invite you and I think I got to worry, well, I'm going to lock it up. That plain and simple. I'm just going to lock it up. You don't have to worry either. So anyway, that to be unilluminated means to not have any light shed on it. And it's held off to its own area of specialness for who needs to see what it is. And then the last one I have is Stygian. Is to Stygian, almost like Stygian, but it's very dark. It's very, very, very dark. Stygian, or Stygian. I didn't listen to that word before, but it's STY, so that could be Stygian. So Stygian, I said Stygian, but that's what it sounded like to me when I listened to it. Integrity. Oh, come on now, you better say it, Cheryl. Integrity is a good thing if you know people that have it. But sometimes we think we know people and we don't, because people sometimes want to know what you have and they want to snoop. I've never been like that. But anyway, Stygian talks about it being very dark, pitch black, unlit, murky, meaning if it's water, you can't even see through it, dim. It also says that it's shadowy, meaning that you may only see the shadows of things, but not anything fully outlined. And it says there's a gloominess to it, and it's dismal. And when we've gone through things and we've seen it where something is dismal, that means we understand that, okay, there may be a little worry with this, a little trouble. And then it says it's dreary. How many of us have been through periods of our life of dreariness? It may not last long. It may just last for a day. And sometimes they say the days that we describe, and they're raining and it's dark and it's gloomy, we may say that that's a dreary day. But when we look at our Tenebrouse, we're really looking at for ourselves, are we able to see anything, feel anything, know things that give us cause to either have gloom, have concern, have, what I would call a period of low light, a period of dimming. And we do, I think all of us who are, conscious of who we are, where we are, and, knowing the people that we love, when we lose somebody to death, when we've lost friendships, when we've lost jobs, all of those things can certainly bring us to the point of having a period of Tenebrouse. We just understand that, we got a little low period right now. It's a little dark for me. It's a little murky for me. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I know where I currently am. And where I currently am is I'm troubled. And sometimes we can't always express that, but it says that's what it would be if we were to actually describe what tenebrous is. It really talks about the fact that there's some obscurity to what's going on and what we see or what we're doing. And here's how we feel. And sometimes it's really hard to get into feelings, is it not? If we're always taught to be strong, to me, a period of tenebrous says that there's a period of weakness. There's a period when we can't get to, how we really feel because we don't have all of the answers. We don't know all the things that happened or how it happened, especially like if it's something like with sickness and death. How did it happen? And sometimes the knowing that may give us comfort on the other end. But if we don't know certain things, then we may be extremely uncomfortable. Just understanding that, wow, that's life, So our lives are going to periodically have this point where we would call our tenebrous, where we know we may be shut off from understanding, shut off from clarity, and having a period of obscurity, and it being a weird kind of an affair that takes place in our lives, an event, and causing us gloom and doom. We understand that, and it may be our twilight, but we don't have to stay there. We can come up finding new ways of and usually time, which is what Calithia said, time will give us a better perspective on wherever we're at, whatever we're dealing with, be it, something terrible, or something, just that may be excitement. And the excitement may also put us in a period of, man, I don't know what I'm doing next. Like if I hit the lottery, somebody told me, what would you do if you hit the lottery? If I hit the lottery, I think I would have a period of tenebrous, where I don't know everything. I don't know if I'm going to go pick up my money. Am I going to take it as a lump sum? Am I going to go find a lawyer and make up a special, account that would be, an account that does more than what it doesn't do by keeping it in my own name, but making an estate. What would I do? I don't know. Never been faced with it, but I think that would have that period of tenebrous to worry about. Having a period of twilight. Who knows about it? Are they following me? What's going on? Would it be a period of nebulousness where I'm in a haze or a cloud? I'd probably be in a cloud. What about you? I think I'd be in a cloud. I think I would be very excited, but then very worried at the same time. I would be baffled, and it says I would be gloom. I wouldn't have gloom on that part. So the raylessness I would take out, but obscure, I think it would be obscure as to what I'm to do, not to saying that I had it. I think eventually I would accept that. But the obscurity is being, how do I conceal? How do I advance? Who do I tell? Those kinds of things. And then, of course, the stratagem, of course, would I make it where it's very dark, where people would be so upset. And I've had a couple of people through my life that have done well and made money and lost family members because they couldn't share anymore. They already had shared, but not enough. They felt that more should have been shared. And those are the kinds of things that give us those moments of, wow, what do I do? What do I do? Our lives are sometimes stuck, I think that would, if I ever hit the lottery, that would be a good stuck, but then probably bad stuckers would come after that. But anyway, that's our word for the day. Tenebrous, look it up. It has its interesting facts about it, and you all can look at that. But pass it on, and then do me one favor: pass on this word. Let the word be out there, so that people know that they don't have to say I'm in the dark. They can just say, "Oh, that's the tenebrous of it all. That's the darkness of it all." And that gives you a new word that you can add to your vocabulary. But listen, have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. It is hump day, and that means we only have 2 more days in the work week. What's your plans? Are you looking forward to doing something positively for yourself? Do you want to sleep on the weekend? Or are you a fan waiting for the weekend? But anyway, I'm going to see you soon. On Friday, I'll be back with another word. We'll make it a fun word, but you have a good and safe day and hit the share button, okay? Thank you so much. Love you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you, Calethea, Rosie, Cheryl, and Carney. Love you guys. Bye-bye. Be safe.